Hello, Pirate fans, and welcome to another edition of Hall Talk. And after an eventful week here at Seton Hall, it looks like it can only get more exciting because basketball is officially here, people. We have some exciting games for both squads and even volleyball. But before my panel and I discuss those matchups, here are some noteworthy things that happened for both basketball squads. Head coach Tony Bozzella and the women's basketball team have announced the signing of a pair of student athletes for the 2017-18 season during the early signing period. Kimmy Evans will join the program from St. John Vianney High School in Holmdel, New Jersey, while Brooklyn native Selena Filoxi comes from South Shore High School. Evans is listed as a 6'4" center, while Filoxi is listed at 6'2" and plays the forward position. Switching over to the men's side, men's basketball coach Kevin Willard also got a rising star to sign his national letter of intent and commit to Seton Hall University. Highly touted player Miles Kale is listed as a 4-star prospect and is rated as the number 17th ranked shooting guard in the nation by ESPN. Kale is from Middletown, Delaware, and will begin his Seton Hall career in the fall of 2017. So, safe to say there's exciting things to happen from the class of 2021, but before I start feeling really old, let's just begin the show. So, stick around, guys. This is Hall Talk. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Hall Talk, and let me introduce my panel for tonight. Matt Lamb and James Justice. James, it's your debut, isn't it?
Yeah, very excited.
Very exciting stuff. Welcome to the set. And so, guys, let's kick it right off. We'll start with volleyball. And Matt, you were there last weekend for volleyball. Huge momentum-boosting wins. On Friday against Georgetown, a 3-1 victory, and then a thriller on Saturday against Villanova, 3-2. Record-setting night for some players. I mean, what does this say about this team? I mean, it's getting crunch time. They only have 3 more games left. It must have been a great feeling for head coach Ali Yeager.
Well, this team's continued to impress all season. You saw it last weekend, especially with statement wins over Georgetown and Villanova, 4-set win against the Hoyas, and then a 5-set thriller over Villanova. And you're really seeing contributions from every player. It doesn't matter how much they play, what position they play. You know, Dominique Mason had 22 kills against Georgetown. That's her career high. Doesn't usually see the floor as much as other players.
And then you added the 16 the next day as well. I mean, it was a great weekend for the transfer out of Chicago.
Of course, then Danny Schroeder, 19 kills in the win over Villanova. You know, Tessa, Fournier, you know, Cherise, Hennigan, everything. They all play consistent really well, and you just saw anybody can come in and contribute and make a win.
James, and the committee plays Seton Hall finishing 6th. They're currently in 5th right now. Top 4 makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you look at the schedule coming up, I know you've done your homework on that. It's getting pretty enticing, especially for this weekend. Huge matchups for the Hall and some of the teams right above and right below them.
Absolutely, absolutely, Lewis. This is a big road trip this weekend against Marquette and DePaul. Two very good teams in the Big East, especially Marquette. Their season really comes down to that first game. If they can get that first win, then they're going to go with even more momentum after that Villanova win.
Yeah.
Go into the DePaul game, go into the St. John's game. And they're going to have to rely on Nova, too. Nova has that game in hand, and Nova has some good competition, some bad competition. They're going to be playing Creighton and Providence to finish the season on the road. Creighton, obviously, the number 1 team in the Big East. Providence, obviously, at the bottom. And then those 2 home games against Xavier and Butler, those are big games, so we'll see. Seton Hall, really, they just have to focus on themselves, which is what they've been doing. They need to go out there and they need to get the wins.
And so, will they get the wins? I will ask you this first, James. Can you see Seton Hall beginning with Marquette? That's the toughest one of the remaining 3. St. John's, the senior night game is far ahead, so we'll just stick to the 2 games this weekend. Can they get a 500 record or more?
I think they can, but it's going to be really tough. I think they're really just going to have to play off that momentum because going in, we have to be honest, Marquette is a better team. But I think if Seton Hall can just ride that wave, they'll be able maybe to get the good result against Marquette and then go into the easier game against DePaul.
Matt, quickly to you, what's their record this weekend?
I think 1-1 is a realistic record.
1-1 record? All right, well, guys, enough of volleyball. The weekend we've all been waiting for, guys. Basketball is officially back. Official games. And we will start with women's basketball, ladies first, of course, because they played first on Friday, against Savannah State. Guys, we saw the team play last weekend against Philadelphia, and we got some answers. First one was who was going to be the scorer of this team, and everyone was able to see that right after the first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaquan Jackson, 31 points in that exhibition match. I mean, we knew the two captains were going to be Katie Healy and Letitia Smith, the underclassmen. But I don't think a lot of us really knew about Jaquan Jackson and how much of a veteran leader she was going to be and how much of a scoring presence she was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, she sat out last year for transfer for rules. But, I mean, Matt, I'll go with you. This team is a young squad, but if you look at their minutes played, I mean, it's even younger. I mean, even some of the players that were here last year, they only had role minutes. I mean, except for maybe the exception of Libertia Gordon and T.T. Smith. But what can you expect from this team? I mean, they got good. Some of them got good minutes, and Philadelphia was a good exhibition game. What do you expect out of this young squad?
Well, I'm expecting, communication to kind of come in as the season goes on. Of course, early on, it's going to be very difficult. Just, playing with so many new faces. There's, 9 freshmen, a couple transfers that are in that mix. It's just going to be, 2 new captains in the squad. It's going to be a lot for the team to handle, but I think we saw from Saturday's victory against Philadelphia that they have the talent to do it. And this recruiting class, although there's so many, they're all very talented. Tony Mazzella picked up a great recruiting class, this past season coming into this year. And the sky's the limit for Seton Hall. This may not be, where you want to look and say it's a great week, it's a great season through their record, but through their progress.
Exactly right. And James, I'll go with you. This team is projected to be placed 5th, but Tony Mazzella has a record of proving the doubters wrong. He's always placing higher at the end of the season than when he was projected earlier. How do you see this team? I mean, I don't want to get too ahead in Big East Conference, but do you see this team getting higher than 5th place?
I don't know. I think that this season.
Or at least, let me rephrase this. Do you see a positive year from this team?
I see a positive year, but I think you have to define positive, Lewis. I think this is a team that I think you have to look a year ahead. I think they're building, and I think next season, I think they're going to be a team that could really contend in the national tournament, the NCAA tournament. But I think this season, you look at Katie Healy, who's going to be a big player for this team. She's a captain starter, and this is her first season playing any competitive action. She's raw. And you look down low, Jordan Molyneux is playing a lot of minutes. She looks like she's going to be the 5 for Seton Hall. But beyond her, I have questions about the depth in that front court for Seton Hall. I mean, Jaquan Jackson, Big East teams are going to scout her, and where's Seton Hall going to go when they're not going to be able to go to her? So I think this team is going to have a positive season, but I don't know if they're going to be exceeding expectations, making a big run in the tournament.
Yeah, James, I couldn't agree more. This team can see positives in terms of minutes played, because I mean, if you look down this roster, it is crazy the amount of minutes or amount of experience this team has faced. I mean, Libertia Gordon is a senior, but right now she's injured, and also Martha Cooter, the returning player, right now she was supposed to be the starting 4. She's injured as well. So maybe this team can get some minutes played. We'll see soon enough as they play Savannah State Friday morning at 11 a.m. at Washington. You guys should make sure to check that out. And you should stay there in Washington. Why? Because Seton Hall men's basketball will be raising their banner that night at 7 o'clock against Fairleigh Dickinson, a team that might look easy on paper, but guys, let me give you something that you should think about. Fairleigh Dickinson was in the NCAA tournament, 4 returning starters, and a very good impact player in the guard position. What does that sound like? It sounds like Seton Hall, doesn't it? But no, that is Fairleigh Dickinson. Guys, it's supposed to be a run-through game for the men's basketball team. At least I would think so. What are we seeing from this matchup?
I think this matchup and this week, looking at the whole scope, is going to really be a tune-up from last season. Just, making sure everybody's on the same page, mentally, physically. Shouldn't really be too much of a difference as far as, skill set goes. I mean, bring in a couple new pieces, but at the end of the day, 4 returning stars for the Hall, and they've just, played more competition, tougher teams, and then it all translates to their tournament run last year. I mean, Fairleigh Dickinson will be a nice test for them early on, but it shouldn't be something that they should struggle with.
James, Darian Anderson is a player, the junior guard from Fairleigh Dickinson. He's a player to watch from that team. How do you see him attacking the Seton Hall team? What is a weakness from the defense that you see from Seton Hall? Is it the guard play? Is it the big men, which I highly doubt it, because, I mean, everyone can agree that Ishmael Sonogo is one of the top 10 defenders in the nation. So how do you see them stopping Darren Anderson and improving on the offensive side?
I think they stop him well just because I think that front court is so strong with Sonogo. Enzi, I think, is going to take a step up this year. Delgado. The only thing you can maybe say is maybe the backcourt might not have that presence defensively. You lose a guy like Derek Gordon. Kadeem Carrington isn't the most defensive player. Powell's going to get a lot of time. He's, a great athlete, a three-point specialist, but, he might not be defensively. We don't know yet, though. And I think the Seton Hall team, credit to them because they've really created a good non-conference schedule, including fairly to start the year.
Yeah.
So they're going to be tested to an extent, but I think we expect the victory.
We should expect the victory, and it's safe to say that we should expect the victory in Prudential Center as well on Sunday against Central Connecticut State. I mean, this team's only had 9 wins the last 2 seasons, I believe. So, quickly, guys, I just want to talk about some roster questions. It's been a lot of debate recently on who would the breakout player be. Looking by the things of newspaper articles, ads, any social media stuff, I feel like Kadeem Carrington is sort of just being pushed into be that star player role. But I want to ask you guys, would he be considered a breakout role? I mean, he was voted by NBC Sports to be the Big East breakout player, but the dude averaged 14 points a game, especially in the Big East tournament, over 18 points. That doesn't really seem like a breakout player to happen. Do you see anyone else, or do you actually consider him to be a breakout player?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a breakout season for him, not necessarily through his skill set and his, production. We've seen that throughout the past 2 seasons, but Seton Hall needs a leader really at this point in the game. There's really, losing a guy like Isaiah Whitehead, Derek Gordon too. Those are the 2 main leaders from the squad last year. So especially, bringing in somebody mature enough to lead the team through tough times.
James, do you see someone else though? There's Angel Delgado, there's Desi Rodriguez, there's even Madison Jones, maybe the transfer impact player.
Sonogo too.
Sonogo as well. We already read what he did for some of the young guys during the summertime. Who do you see as the breakout player?
You could look at so many different levels of this team and talk about a breakout player. You could look at guys like Kadeem, Desi, and Angel, and you could say they're going to be next level good. They're going to be averaging 20 points. They're going to be one of the those next top players in the nation. You could look lower in the roster. You could look at a guy like Miles Carter, a guy who didn't get a lot of time last year, but a guy who's definitely talented. You could look at Madison Jones, a transfer guy who, when you look at him this year, very similar position to where Derek Gordon was last year. He has experience playing in the ACC, had the best assist-to-turnover ratio when he played in the ACC. So, this is a guy that maybe comes in. We don't know if Kadeem's going to play point guard well, and Javon Thomas is not going to be playing until January. So he could be a guy that comes in and plays a big role.
Well, guys, exciting times. I'm sure you guys will go to all 3 matchups. We're expecting 3 victories this weekend from the Hall. Make sure to go out to Washington Museum and the Prudential Center for Sunday matchup of men's basketball. The first 4,000 guests receive a copy of the banners. It's kind of a cool idea from Seton Hall. But anyways, guys, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.